Hi everyone, it's Mariana again with the Promise May recap coming today. I thought on Saturdays, since you guys could maybe have the long weekend to listen to it, this will be a little bit longer. I will talk about a lot more things that I used to, since I will be talking about some of the charts that I also tweeted about. That will come at the end, but first I want to talk about April and May. I want to combine the two recaps together since I didn't get a chance to talk about April in the last recap. I was traveling and I wasn't trading that actively, so I thought I could talk about it now. So I will start with April, and April started out like, as you can see, this is how I traded in April, and there are a lot of days off. Those are the days when I was traveling, and like these small gains are just from a few swings that I had. So I was checking the swings while I was traveling and just selling the most that I could in between those days. And these first 2 days, they were pretty good and I was feeling confident. I didn't want to take a big loss, like let's say if I wanted to like go traveling, but it happened and it was on the ticker EEENF, which was the one that kind of taught me the most and the one that I want to highlight from that month. It's pretty much the one that I want to talk the most about. So let's pull up EEENF. So this is the chart, and I was long overnight on this day right here on the 5th. And as you can see, it was a breakout, and I thought that maybe it could hold up for maybe an open year one or something. But unfortunately, I did have like big size, and I thought I was getting a good entry. It kind of dipped a little before the close, so I added a few more. And this is a ticker that also trades on a foreign exchange, and the foreign exchange, like, it trades 24 hours. So sometimes while they're trading, it can also affect the gap the next day, and that is what happened this time. So, and unfortunately, they released bad news that same night, and it was already gapping down 60% when I saw it. So the next day, I don't know, it was like the first time that I had kind of like that scenario in my hands. So the next day I wasn't really expecting that big of a gap down because I had never seen it before. There were some people that also had never seen it before, but I woke up to an 80% gap down. And as I already said, like, I had too big of size, I overfilled, and I was, I was never really counting on an 80% or like a near 100% gap down on it, but I guess that is what happened. But sometimes you just need to understand that these tickers, and like as we see previously, this isn't really a former runner, so I guess I could have been a little more skeptical about how it traded. It's also an F ticker, so there were a lot of things that maybe I should have counted for, but I was coming from February trading where everything gapped up huge, so I wasn't really very used to those types of scenarios, and fundamentally most of these stocks are most likely not worth the investment. So just being careful because you are taking that risk overnight, and that just can always happen in any sort of like stock. So the rest of the month, what I tried to do was, as a lot of people may have heard before, get back to the basics. And I tried my best to do that. I was like, oh no, now I'm gonna have my first red month in like over a year. That was a pretty big deal for me. And then I was taking of the rest of the 2 weeks off. So it was a bit emotional because I came off from the $40,000 loss on IMPP, so I wasn't like mentally there to take another loss kind of like that in a slower market. It may not be slower, but for the things that I'm trading, it was a little bit. Well, what I did was I just tried to take my singles as best that I could. So as you see, all were green days the day that I traded, and I tried to just size down, take my singles, and not open myself up to more risk because I knew that since I was going to be gone, I maybe would have had like a sour vacation. So I ended the month plus 2,000, and honestly that made me really happy just to realize that you don't have to go for big trades to make a loss back. The best way is to size down and focus on what you know, not try to maybe venture off and try and learn new things. Just focus on what you already learned, and that will all start to come together. And I did have a green month. It was slow, and the rest of the days it was just me selling some swings. And a little bit about my vacation: it was very beautiful, but at the same time there was a lot of FOMO because there was no Wi-Fi where I was at. But I guess in the moment it was tough because I saw some of the messages and people were trading, and you're like, I'm over here not doing anything. But that is okay to do. That is actually something good, because it's like a mental break, and your brain needs also breaks. But yeah, that was pretty much all that I did for April. Now I'm gonna move on to May. It was a lot better coming from vacation and being, I was still a little bit like scared, like what is going on. I wasn't really in tune with the market, so I knew that I had to take it slow once again. And this is May. So uh like I had some problems with Profitly. It's not updating like the last of my trades, so I was not able to figure out this amount. And also E-Trade has like a problem when you're gonna upload some of the trades if I were to do it manually. So these are like the first few that I have, but I also can talk about some of the last trades that I took, which I will be going over when I talk about the charts. But here I will talk about, let's say, some of the stats. Like, it has been 4% profitable, like around 70%. Now it's a little bit below, but that's okay. I have been taking a little more losses since I'm just cutting things a lot sooner and maybe taking my singles a lot quicker. And there are still some of the trades, like the last few trades, that I haven't implemented in this. But total was of 40,000, and I do have still the last week, so it should be a little bit above that, but I do not know the exact numbers yet. Largest winning trade, 7,000. Largest losing trade was 3,000, so that's good. The largest winning trade is a lot bigger than the other one, and also here the average winning trade is bigger than the average losing trade, which is also something that I like to see. I want to know that I am gaining a lot more than I am losing, because I don't want to like lose more than what I intend to lose. And most are also long trades. I did take a short trade. That short trade was just like one trade that I took, but it wasn't really ideal. The last one, it was on AMC, which I will be talking about, but it was on the 28th, and that was a profitable short trade, which I also will be talking about when I talk about the charts. And yeah, that was like about it. Those were all of the stats there. It's not really that big of a difference between my previous months, other than like the profitability just being a little bit lower. But other than that, what I do want to focus on coming into next month is keep adding up the singles and not taking big losses, because right now, since it is slower, well, technically it is slower for me as an OTC trader. There haven't been a lot of gap ups. Panics have not been working that well, so I do want to make sure that I'm not taking a big loss that could potentially make me a lot more emotional in the month. So taking smaller size and aiming for singles every single day does add up. That's pretty much how I have shared my experience from before. I took 1,000 trades to make my first 100,000, and honestly, that is one of the best ways that I have found to go about the slower market. I am still trying to shift, I still take the losses, but minimizing the amount of money I put into a trade will also minimize the potential loss that I could have. And now I want to move on to the charts. First of all, I want to thank all of you guys for getting me over 10,000 followers on Twitter. That is amazing, and I also do appreciate all of you. I know that sometimes whenever there's bad comments or something, you guys are there to back me up and also to congratulate me, which is always really good to know that I have people that support me. And I asked all of you to comment some of the tickers that you would like for me to talk about, and I chose 10 of them. Most of them I have traded, so I will share my thought process, my trade plan, how I traded it, and that is what I'll be talking about. What I found worked best this month and what I found didn't work so well, shifts, differences, that's what I will be talking about. So first off, I will start by talking about EENF. I already mentioned this one. Again, unfortunate news, very large gap down. It almost never happens, but I guess I could have been smaller size, but sometimes a situation just can get out of your control and you wake up to it. And I guess what you can take out of it is how can you recover from that. And that is what I did, was to take my singles, get back to the basics, and most of the time I guess this type of chart may have worked if it was maybe in a hotter market or a former runner or a different type of ticker. In this case it didn't, but as we know, we don't trade the best fundamentally looking stocks, so we just have to be okay with the risk. Next one, so that is the first one. Second one is GGII. This one has been one of the most requested in all of the comments that I have seen, and this ticker started its run around April right here. And what is interesting about it is it's not it just runs and then it fades off to oblivion. No, this one held up and went for a second run, and those are the ones that I'm the most interested in. I more often than not do not trade the ones that only run one time and then volume just starts to die off and it doesn't hold up for a breakout. And this one was very, very beautiful. I don't know why I missed it. I never found the perfect entry really around the breakout, or maybe I wasn't really watching that closely. I wasn't really expecting much out of it until it went for 3 straight green days. But most of the time when I don't find the perfect entry around here, the breakout, maybe on the second day, maybe on the third day, then I will be looking for what's next. What's the next part of the framework? Well, next part is the first red day, the panics, and the first green day coming after it, the bounces or reversals. They have been working well for me this month. And this ticker is a great example of that. You see 513, 518. After it sells off, it has that relief, that bounce, and the bounces are very, very great. So I actually was looking for the same thing the 28th, which I was looking for the first green day. As we have seen the past history, this does have a good history of bouncing, and we can look at what happened yesterday. So actually, let's look at the 5-day, 5-minute. Right here, it shows, this is what I was kind of looking for. Every single day, it panics and then it doesn't hold. It keeps making new lows. Here, panics. Here, it stops and then it keeps making new lows. And it is nowhere near going green. But this time, around 935. Here we see 950. It's kind of trying to go green, but here it starts to consolidate right below it. That's when I get interested because it doesn't seem like it wants to make a new low. It seems like it is holding right below green for a potential move over. So then I started to take some around here, some around here, and once it dipped and it held this level, that became my risk at 26. So I had a 267 entry, and I was expecting it to go green, and I started selling some here into strength. I most of the time do sell into strength, and let's keep in mind this was also midday, so I do prefer to do that, and I have been taking midday off for the past couple weeks because I tend to lose during midday or maybe late day also, so I have been focusing more on what time frame works the best for me, and that has been 9:30 to 11. So I did exit all of my position, but then it came back and it held green. As you can see, it held very well. I never found the entry because I don't think I was behind screens, but as you can see, it also holds this channel. Maybe if you want to maybe get long around this area and risk on the dip, or maybe risk red, that could also be a potential entry. But for me, I just focused on the morning action, and the morning action told me it did not want to panic. Selling has stopped. Now it planned on going on the other side of the framework, which on the daily it shows that it is very capable of doing that. And for those that also know my trading style, I do prefer panic dip buys more often than not, but lately they have been very choppy. They've been hard to fill. They also don't provide very good bounces. Let's say over here, I would be looking, let's say, for this type of action consolidation, and I would look for it to stay strong, overview up. That didn't happen. Same as the next day, same as here on this day. They're just easy, they fake you out, and maybe they don't give you like that perfect entry as they did before. But one of the patterns that has been working the best has been first green days, and I like to enter either on the green move, but sometimes if I can find a better entry under it and risk lower, I will always take that. I will always look for the better risk. So I will always look for the better entry with the best risk. And that was in this case around here. And yeah, then I just sell into strength. And moving on, I think I covered everything for GTII. If like your favorite part of the framework doesn't work, then look for another part that maybe does start working better. So next one that was also requested a bunch was TANF. I will share when I did trade it. So I started liking this one, as I said before, when it holds. Let's say this had really strong gap up. So for example, if this makes the first run and then it starts to consolidate and hold, and that is when I get interested for the potential breakout coming, which was at 329, and that is what I was expecting for it. Okay, so this day was the day that I got interested because that day was gapping up over this breakout, and I thought that it could potentially make a move higher. So let's go look at how I traded it on that day. So it was this day, and as you can see, it was gapping up and it was right below the previous breakout. So I thought, if it had news also on that day, so it gapped up big, and I wanted to see like how it reacted at open, since many of them can spike big if it's not dipping right away. So I do sometimes when I see like strong bids right at open, maybe at like 9:31, I'll take a long and I'll risk low a day. So pretty much I was risking 2.325 and maybe even red, but I usually just risk the low a day expecting for a spike, for a quick like morning single, morning spike, and most of the time they do work. And if they stop working, then I just have my limit price ready to sell if it looks to be panicking or whatever it is that it wants to do. I will sell quickly either way. If I'm looking at a losing position, I will sell right away, but if I'm also looking at a gain, then I will also sell right away, because you don't really know what's going to happen after like the first 5 minutes. It could also spike and then come back to like where it came from. But no, this time it did have a solid morning spike, and that is when I sold my position. But I was also looking for it to hold the breakout, to hold this breakout, but it never did. And that's when I lost interest. It didn't really hold for a move higher. And then it got a little bit choppier, and this one was also difficult to panic dip buy. As you see, it's like the same scenario kind of with GGII. And it also had like that first green day, the last few days right here, but it also gapped down. So it just became very difficult. It didn't really seem like it wanted to hold up or really do much, so I tend to maybe keep it on radar, maybe for a potential gap up and spike another day, but other than that, I will ignore. First day I traded was on this day on the spike and left it alone when it didn't seem to want to hold the breakout. Next one was HTZGQ. So this one, it was a little bit tougher to trade. It would like create beautiful consolidations and then stuff it high day many times and then just panic. Like I closed, so I didn't really have a good read on many of the days, but on the 12th I did have a good trade on it. So it was on this big green day that they also released news on that same day. So I want to go and look at that day to maybe get an idea of the way that I treated it, because it is a lot clearer just looking at the 1 day, 1 minute. This is on the day. So as you see, it was gapping up pretty big, and it got mentioned on one of the chat rooms, and I got interested because my first buy was around here when it dipped and it started to hold, and it created this high, and then I will start in. I think my first entry was around like 450 and risking maybe this dip right here, same as like the other one, and I sold for a quick 10 cents. I thought it could get over high day and maybe give me the single for the morning, and then it held again, maybe over this consolidation, risking under here and looking for a high day. Same idea. I didn't take it since it was midday, and I've been taking a lot of these off, but then I was buying some of the dips since it showed that it was a strong ticker. It had good volume, it had good liquidity, it allowed me to get in and out quickly. I took more advantage of it on all of the dips that I could since they were easy to read, and that's how I traded that one. And then we can go back to the daily. These days I was looking for a panic dip buy, but none of them were really that clean. It wasn't very clean action, so I kind of just stopped trading it these days. But this one was the best day it had, with good volume and news and breakout. So yeah, it was a good trade. Next, we can move on to ETCG. This is a higher priced OTC, but you can see the beautiful extension, 4 green days. It never went green or red. So what are you looking for? The first red day pattern, and that happened on the 7th. Let's go back again to the 7th. And here is the beautiful first red day panics. As you can see, what was I interested? I love panics, so I bought this one, and I left it alone. But this is just the panic dip buy that I like the most. What I'm looking for is how clean the red candles are. As you can see, here's clean. Here's also clean. So that already gets me interested, and if it's down more than maybe 10 to 20% on the first red day, I think from 90 to 68, it was more than 20%. So it not only was clean, but it also had good liquidity. Like, it allowed you to get it in and out quickly, and I decided to long, take the single, then relong when it had another 5 straight red candles right here, and those were my 2 trades on it. After that, I kind of left it alone here since it was midday. Same as this one, I left it alone. I didn't think that maybe I would have wished for a lot bigger red candles. Other than that, that is how I traded it. And the rest of the days, I also kept looking at it because this does follow ETC, and just by looking at maybe ETC, you can see like which way it's going to gap. So if it gaps up big, sometimes for a morning spike, but if it gaps down big, I'm going to look for that panic again. So every single day, I just keep looking for that opportunity, and I always have it on watch because you never know if it's gapping down, let's say 30 or 40% or something crazy. I will always be looking for the opportunity on it. Since I have already traded in the past, I like to trade the ones that I already have an idea of how they trade. And also, again, the first green day pattern here, it worked really well. And yeah, but my favorite one was the panic. This one was probably the cleanest one I have seen all month, and that is what we keep looking for. Moving on, I think this is one of like my last, like the last of the favorites. Then we'll move on to the ones that aren't really my favorites from the ones that were mentioned. But this, again, same idea as ETCG, like extended, bunch of green days, AMC extended, bunch of green days, same thing. And I will talk about how I traded it. So and also, like, congratulations to everybody that did so good on it, because it was a perfect opportunity, perfect first green day. It offered multiple entries where you could easily take your single, wait for a bigger gain, but it could have been a good trade for long bias traders, also for short bias traders. But long bias traders already had their fun with the amount of green days it was up. And first trade that I took was on this day. So I thought it was already extended. It was 3 green days, and I shorted around 19, but I was risking high day. Like, I was never risking anything other than small risk, because I knew it was like a B setup, but it wasn't like an A plus. I love it. No, it was just, like, I wanted to try it. I didn't really have much to trade anyways, but then E-Trade, I don't know, like, something happened with my account or whatever, and it didn't allow me to cover, so I took a loss. So when it went parabolic, like, here, right here, I was in from like 19, and then I was covering around like 23, and then I was able to make most of my losses back shorting. Like I tried it along the way, and then I finally was able to take a good short here, covered, and then I re-shorted on the here on the lower high, and then covered, and then I got some long on this panic, but it wasn't really as ideal as this day, which was the day that it really got extended and it gapped up, and it even had a morning spike all the way to 36. So it had this parabolic spike to like 36. Then right at open, I kind of like got short on the lower highs. So around here, it was somewhere around here. I got short somewhere around here, mostly around 35, and I was risking the high today or the top of this little channel that I created. And then when it just looked like it was holding up, I thought maybe it could squeeze. It was a Friday. Some Fridays are known for huge squeezes, so I didn't want to be part of it, and I covered into the stuff candle. Once it's stuffed, I thought it was a really good sign of weakness for the stock. And like after, like, odds are after being up a ton of days, the past like few days, it wouldn't get past it, and I went short again at 33 here. Around 33 again, I was risking like this, and that's when it held under VWAP, and it gave a beautiful panic all the way down to 24, and that was my trade on it. Trading tickers also goes over a lot of the first red day pattern, just on extended, beautiful charts. You want to look for the day that is showing weakness for panics. Now moving on to one that is not my favorite. Although I didn't trade it, I know a lot of people lost on it, and I'm very sorry for the people that lost on this ticker. It's just very, very ugly. So I don't know. I still can't figure out if I would have traded the sticker, because I am not a fan of sub pennies and I do stay away from them. But sometimes they work well, and sometimes when they have good panics, they actually do bounce very well. But in this case, that is not what happened. It never bounced. And the thing with it was that it had bad news, and that's what made it just so bounceless, and it was just another midday trade. So maybe in slower months, like being away from the screens at times where there's like not much volume can benefit, and that is like totally okay with doing if you want to take like midday off. Sometimes the trade work, like I already showed you before. I've showed before, like HTZ worked, some others have worked, but sometimes it's better to maybe avoid the midday lull when it's just not as hot as the market as it was before. That is all that I have for this one. Like, it broke out well, but it never really held up, and then it had bad news midday, and it was a very beautiful panic, but it just never bounced. And sometimes tickers just do that, but keeping risk intact is very, very important. Next, MJWL, another one that wasn't really like my favorite. I will explain why it's not my favorite. So I do, whenever I'm trading something, I do prefer like the ones that I have traded in the past, so former runners that I'm already used to trading. Like I said with ETCG, I will be looking at it continuously because I'm already used to trading it. But let's say for this one, when it goes on like a 1 day run, I will get more interested once it starts to hold below it and then re-break out. That's when I really get interested. Other than that, when they don't like break out again, I just lose interest. But I do always watch for potential in the coming days. This one I haven't traded before, so I don't know much, but I just know that I do prefer the ones that go on multiple runs. Next one, just like EEGI, which is like kind of the same scenario. This one I haven't traded, and again, it is also a sub penny, but I was interested when this was right below 01. This does put it in more people's radars. Some people just don't like trading it, so I guess when it gets over 01, I guess more people are watching it, there's more volume, more people trading it. So if this holds under it and then makes a move over 01, I will be very interested. Right now, I would just never was, and these days, this was a very good first green day, like all the way down from 99 to 03. It was very good first green day, and I guess I should have been watching it, but I would have preferred if maybe I would have traded in the past if it wasn't a sub penny, and I'll prefer it when it's over breakout. And the last one is TSNP. Wait, I can't, I forget that it's not anymore, but this is the ticker, and I wish I had TSNP because that is definitely a favorite for a lot of traders. The other day I was talking to another trader that I met not too long ago, and we were talking about the beauty of a good ticker. Like, this one will always live in like the hearts of every trader. Like, you need to always be on the lookout for like never missing that type of opportunity, because you can learn a lot from these tickers. And also realizing that like most won't be like those, but going back to them and studying them and getting to know the way that they move for the next one is also really important. It can only make you better like in the future, let's say. And I don't know, that's all I have for you guys. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the way that I traded some of these tickers and how I explained my thought process behind the way I traded them, what I could have done better, what I could have done worse. And thank you guys again for everything, and I will see you on the next recap, which is for June. And what I want to do for June is just, again, keep up the same process until it's showing something else. When it's showing that it's getting hotter, then maybe readjust. But right now, just single, small gains, and they will add up. Thank you.